Hello, everyone. This is Victoria Mattia, and you are listening to the Mom Care Coach podcast. I hope that you are doing well, and if this is your first time tuning in, thank you so very much. You are welcome here. So thank you for tuning in, and please come back. And even if this is your first time, go ahead and share what you liked in the comments, and go ahead and like and follow this podcast as well. So for today, we are talking about sleep. Now, every autism mama, I know what you're thinking. Go ahead and lean into this podcast episode because this is going to be quite interesting and pretty nitty-gritty. So usually, I only talk about the 4 intentional needs when it comes to the mom, and that would include sleep, nutrition, mindset, and movement. But in this episode, I am talking about sleep for the mama, but I am also mentioning some tips that are tethered to our children. And the reason why is because often the quality of the autism mama's sleep is affected by the quality of her child's sleep. Now, as I've said many times, there are so many things that we can do that can really impact the quality of our sleep and that can really help us, that we can do all by ourselves. And although we are not 100% in charge, when it comes to our sleep, especially when it is related to our children as well, there's still a lot we can do. But on this episode, we're going to give some tips that can help the kiddos out as well. Because if we help them out, then of course it's going to help us with our sleep also. So tip number 1, and let me just tell you, some of these tips are going to be a little bit tricky, meaning a little bit difficult to implement. But, what I have found is that getting started and educating myself about what works and what can help, and understanding that some things do take time, and being willing to put that time into the process and learn to lean into the process, make every day beautiful, even if it is challenging. That whole idea, came to me many years ago. That was actually one of my taglines for many years. I've been on Instagram since 2018. And that was one of my taglines for quite some time. It was make every day beautiful. And the reason why is because I feel like beauty is a choice because it has to do with the eye of the beholder. And I also feel like it has to do with our mindset. What is beautiful? And understanding life is beautiful, and you can make it beautiful even during a challenging time. And I remember a movie years ago, it's called Life is Beautiful. And it was all about this man. He was an Italian Jewish man during the time of the Holocaust. And he had a son. Him and his wife had a son. And they wanted, it was him especially. He really wanted to make this experience. He turned this experience into a game for his son because the truth of the matter was so horrific and so painful. And you have to watch the movie because he really shows what it is to make life beautiful in a challenging, incredibly challenging situation and time. And I'm not making any comparisons when it comes to the movie. I'm just sharing that I love the movie. I think it is absolutely beautiful. And I was able to learn a few tips from there of what beauty is and how you can just be so thankful for life in any given situation, even in the most horrific and challenging of times. Now, in this episode, we're talking about sleep. So I'm not saying that it can be horrific, although it can feel that way when you have gone days, weeks, months, years without quality sleep. So going back to what I'm referring to on the tips, tip number 1 is this. And like I said, gear yourself up because some of them are challenging. Tip number one has to do with the foods that your child is consuming. When I am feeding my children, I am interested in both, yes, what is palatable, and then also what is nutrient dense for them. I don't just do one or the other. And the reason why is because if I'm just looking for what is palatable to them, I'm not serving them. It is tasty for them in the moment, but then long term, it can affect their body in a multitude of ways, and it may not be what they need and what we want either. So let me give an example. For our family, my children have a whole foods diet. They are plant-based. They do have meat from time to time, but overall they are plant-based. But I make sure everything is grass-fed and grass-finished, non-GMO, organic as possible. And I do not give them gluten, wheat, dairy, and those are my choices. We also limit corn, soy, and most eggs. Now, everybody is different and every family is different, but there is research to prove and show that especially for children on the autism spectrum, there is a connection between food, how it is being digested and processed in their body, and behavior, as well as many people on the spectrum really struggle with being able to digest food in a way that is helpful for them. So if we give them foods that are really processed, then number one, there's not a lot of nutrient value, meaning they're not able to pick up many vitamins and minerals because they don't contain it. And if it's highly processed, even if there are some, it can be difficult for their body to absorb it. That is why a lot of people choose to give, themselves, a lot of moms give themselves as well as their children prebiotics, probiotics, and enzymes. Now, as I've mentioned before, I love all of that. However, for my children and for a lot of children, the kind of prebiotics, probiotics, and enzymes matter as well as the amount. Starting out very small, small amounts of CFUs, meaning 1 to 3 billion, is what I suggest to start out with, because you don't know how it's going to react in your child's body. And yes, for some kids, really high amounts can cause a lot of digestive issues when it's given immediately, this high amounts, and it's not built up in their system, which can also affect behavior. And if you have a child that is already struggling with behavior and with learning, and a lot of different things goes into that, if they're already struggling, then I suggest, as a certified life and health coach and practitioner, I suggest to start out slow and small. 1 to 3 billion is enough to start out with. I do understand that there are companies that are offering 50 billion, 100 billion, 150 billion. But the thing is that if you're killing off the bad bacteria too quickly, sometimes the kiddos can have parasites and different things. And when that is happening and we are not detoxing that first, or at least at the same time, then these different parasites and things can be reabsorbed, as well as it can be very, very uncomfortable for the child. Now, honestly, that's an entire episode by itself. But what I'm wanting to suggest here in this first tip is that if you're choosing to give your child prebiotics, probiotics, and enzymes, and yes, there is a connection to sleep, because if you have a healthy gut and healthy gut flora, it can help with sleep. But if we are not doing it properly and slowly, it can backfire on us and make it more difficult. So in this first tip, if you choose to give your child prebiotics, probiotics, and enzymes, do it slowly. Start out with only 1 to 3 billion as a maximum until your child gets used to that. And if you choose, you can build up. Now, if you are a mama that chooses not to give your child any probiotics because you feel that they have had a lot of behaviors from it and it's very difficult for them and the household, and maybe it's just not the time to work on that, I totally understand. Another thing that we can do is give prebiotics, probiotics, and enzymes food-based, meaning sauerkraut is full, homemade sauerkraut, homemade sourdough, homemade fermented veggies. These are full of probiotics, and we can add fiber and prebiotics by adding like cooked apples will give you some of that prebiotic fiber, and adding that into oatmeal, adding that into eating it by itself, or adding that into different breakfast dishes, however you like it. That can be helpful for your prebiotics. And then for your probiotics, making homemade yogurt, homemade fermented sauerkraut, homemade sourdough, homemade veggies. There's a lot of different, homemade kimchi. There's a lot of different options that are food-based with getting the probiotics, prebiotics, and enzymes into your kiddo. And that can also help with sleep. So that's tip number 1. That was a long-winded tip number 1. And basically that tip number 1 is nutrition. Learning what your child needs, obviously avoiding any food allergens or potential food allergens, especially when you're starting on this journey, is one of my tips. Tip number 2. Now this is another challenging one, but it is helpful. Minimizing the Wi-Fi and internet usage in your home. Oh, listen, I just said it and I know it's hard. If you're using AAC devices or other communication devices that uses Wi-Fi or internet, this can be challenging. And in this case, if you're using those, what I have seen other people do, my child does not use an AAC device, so I am sharing what I have learned from other people that do use communication devices. What we can do is minimize the Wi-Fi 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. Now, what do I mean? I really mean eliminate, if your child goes to bed or you put them in their bedroom to go to sleep at, I don't know, let's say 8 o'clock p.m. Then from 5 o'clock to 8 p.m., eliminating all Wi-Fi in the home can help with sleep. I know it's hard because it also includes eliminating the Wi-Fi on your phone, iPads, smart devices, smartphones, smart TVs, and doing other crafts, other things. Now, as I say that, I understand that there's a lot that goes into it. Number 1, you would need to, yourself or someone else would need to be able to be present with your child during that time, doing the craft or doing different things or helping them with their nighttime activities, rituals, or whatever you call it, as they are preparing for bed. And, if you work outside of the home at that time, I know how challenging that could be. Or maybe that's the time that you are preparing dinner, and how can you get dinner together if your kiddo is not occupied with a device because you need help. I get that. I understand that. I understand being that mom. And I guess it's a great time to insert for myself. My child for years would get up at between 2:30 and 3:30 every morning. And when I say for years, I do mean years. And honestly, I would say from the age of 6 years old to 12 years old, he would get up between 2:30 and 3:30. And what made it so challenging was that obviously it was hard for me to be able to sleep throughout the night, as well as his brother. It was also the feeling of help, a feeling for me personally. I felt helpless. I felt like I didn't know what to do. I felt like I kept trying and nothing was working. However, during that time, COVID hit and everyone was at home, and I started getting him in-home therapies, and I was able to dive into educating myself during his therapy time in a home. And so I remember purchasing several different books and learning so much. So I'm going to actually mention a couple of the books that really helped me. So one of the books that I read was called The Essential Oils Diet by Dr. Eric Zelinsky, also known as Dr. Z, and his wife is known as Mama Z. And that book goes over tons of different things, but in the book it does mention elimination of toxins, detoxing, how EMF affects our body, and that goes into detail about how to make sure that you have for certain your devices turned off, as well as turning off your Wi-Fi in your home throughout the night while you sleep, because it actually can affect the body. And there was another, I think there's another company called EarthCalm, and they have PDFs and studies that they have done, and how EMF, meaning the electromagnetic frequency that emits from any smart devices, affects our heartbeat, our brain activity, our breathing, and our digestion. And so learning about that was really helpful. Also, I read Healing ADD. My oldest son has ADHD as well as autism, and he has severe autism, but he is verbal. So Healing ADD is a book by Dr. Amen. I also read another book by his, and the title has something called The Brain. I don't have that right in front of me, but that really helped. And then also Healing and Preventing Autism by Jenny McCarthy and Dr. Jerry Cartzenell. Now I know that title can be very triggering to a lot of people. What I learned specifically from that particular book were different supplements that helped his body and how to eliminate a lot of different toxins. That's what I learned from that book. And the different books I'm recommending was very, very powerful. And, in each book, you take what you need and you leave the rest. And in each book, it recommends different supplements, detoxing, how to thrive in your body, and how to help your children. And this is what helped us with sleep. We didn't go straight towards sleep, meaning this is a list, do this, this, this. It was more about detoxing and eliminating things that weren't serving us, whether that has to do with nutrition and certain kinds of foods, or processed ingredients, all of that affected us and helped us with sleep by helping my children sleep. I'm also going to tell you some of the supplements that helped my son with sleep and thereby helping me to have quality sleep, meaning sleeping throughout the night. One of the things that really helped had to do with getting an air purifier in the room. That was really, really helpful. We have Air Doctor, also getting one of the water filtration machines. We have Aqua True. So I think this would be number 3. The items that we implemented, and this happened just even during COVID, I think it was 2021, 2022, that really helped with sleep for us, would be getting the Aqua True water filtration system and the Air Doctor purifier in the room. Also having one in the living room can be really helpful. They're very large machines at the time. They have some smaller ones now, but the air quality just helped so very much. So if that's number 3, then I'll do number 4 would be supplementation. Okay, so when I give the supplements, I am only going to share what has helped us, what has helped my son actually get good quality sleep. Everybody is different. Yes, you may go and speak with your healthcare provider if this is something that can help your child. But I'm going to start with myself. What I take at night to help me with sleep, I take 1 capsule of GABA, and I am a certified health coach and practitioner, and I work from a holistic perspective, looking at the whole body as a whole and seeing what the body needs. And so for myself, I take 1 capsule of GABA at night, 750 milligrams. Different people do not need that much. Sometimes they need less, but that is what I take, along with 1 capsule of 5-HTP, and that is 100 milligrams. And then I also take 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams of these capsules are calcium, magnesium, and zinc. So that about 3,000 a night. You don't need that much if you don't need that much. So for myself, that equals to 1,200 milligrams of magnesium. Okay. So in the 3,000, it's 1,200 grams of magnesium, and that's what really helps with getting good quality sleep. Okay. And then that's usually what I take at night. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't know. And I do take 6 milligrams, of melatonin. And that is what helps me with sleep. During the day, I take vegan multivitamins as well, and B vitamins. I have a vegan B complex that I take. Okay, and then for my oldest son, he takes 9 milligrams of melatonin. He takes 1,000 milligrams of the calcium, magnesium, and zinc, which equals for him only 400 milligrams of the magnesium. If he's having a really hard time, meaning like he's not feeling well, he will take 800 milligrams of the magnesium. Now, he also takes around 4,000 milligrams of the GABA a night, as well as 400 milligrams of 5-HTP. Those two together, coupled with the magnesium, is what has helped him to sleep. And I got those amounts from Dr. Amen. Dr. Amen was actually one of his physicians years ago. Dr. Amen has clinics all over the country, and he was one of his doctors in California, and that clinic. And those are the amounts that we got from him. Those amounts, different amounts are mentioned in his books as well, but he was one of his personal physicians years ago, and that is the amount. And it was I think it was actually right before COVID when we started seeing and contacting Dr. Amen as his physician. And that is what really helped him with sleep. Are there other things? Absolutely. I also give him like spirulina, chlorella that helps with detoxification. And chlorella has been known to help with detoxing from heavy metals. So that is what has really helped him as well. So, basically the Wi-Fi, getting rid of that 2 to 3 hours before bed, having clean air, clean water, proper nutrition, and supplementation. Those would be the 5 things that's really helped him. And during those, and so I'll give one more. So I guess that's number 5. One more tip is this. What's really helped him also, you may be asking, what do we do with our kiddo those 2 or 3 hours before bed? Having a strong morning routine and a strong nighttime routine is really helpful. And in that nighttime routine, having activities that he can do. For our family, he loves to do crafts. He's always loved big boxes and breaking them down and making stuff out of boxes. That's always been his thing. Also, I would lay out like glue and paper and crayons. He likes that. We also have clay. He likes that. I have a chalkboard and different colored chalk. He likes that. I also have like white, I've had over the years white erase boards, and the dry erase markers, dry erase board as well. That is helpful. Any of the sensory activities, getting like a big bag of beans and putting that in a huge box and letting him walk around, like step, like putting the feet in and kind of like moving around with their feet, sensory stimulating, using hands to do the same thing, making little things with their fingers and hands, like cutting out stuff, making like little rugs. They've done like different crocheting. They like that. There's a lot of different activities that I've done over the years. And I do change it up. He has blocks, he has Legos, he has, tons of sensory things. But all of those things I have found to be really helpful on what to do with my kiddo if they're not on screens. And I'm going to have to make another episode when it comes to not being on screens, because that's really hard. But as I've mentioned, I think in a couple episodes before, Bernadette Knoll and Carrie Conti, they worked on some ebooks called Slow Family Living, Slow Family Handbook, and a Slow Family Mission Statement. There's also a Slow Family Holiday Statement, all of those things. There's even a Slow Family Babysitter Guide. All of that is really helpful. And all of these different books and activities, these are the things that I use for my family personally, and this is what's really helped our family and my children, and this is what's really helped me with sleep. By helping them get sleep, it helps me get sleep, and then what I have to do is just be accountable to the choices that I make, and making sure that they are in alignment and congruent and are congruent with the lifestyle that I want to live, as well as for my children.